Superwoman Redefined. I came up with the title because when people think of Superwoman or Superman, they think of like this superhero or this larger than life character, and I just wanted to reevaluate what that means for people because I don't want people to feel like they have to strive for perfection or strive to never have a moment of vulnerability.
And when did you realize that you wanted to write a book or write about it?
Um, I realized it about 2 years ago. Actually, my sister was the person who suggested I write a book. I was very hesitant and resistant to writing a book. And she mentioned maybe it would be a good idea because there are lots of women who are struggling with some of the same things that I'm struggling with. And so she really pushed me to do that. And again, at first I was really resistant because I wasn't quite sure that if I could write a book or people would want to hear what I have to say. But she was very persistent in telling me that it'd be a good idea, and I gave it a shot, and here I am.
And when you started writing, did it take you the full 2 years, or how long did it actually take you to write the book?
It took me about a year and a half to write it because it was an on and off process. I didn't just write consistently, so I would do it for about a month, and then I would stop, and then there'd be a few weeks that I didn't write the book, or so it was a very long process just because I wasn't diligently working on it.
Kind of talk about what inspired you to write the book. From like go in details about that, the true inspiration that came from the book.
I was actually having a conversation with my sister and some other family and friends, and just kind of sharing with them some of my struggles that I was going through at the moment. And a lot of them were really surprised that I was struggling with something. They always kind of had this perception of me that, I have it all together and I look good on paper, so I don't have any life struggles. And I was kind of looking at them like, what do you mean I don't have life struggles? We all have struggles. And they kind of made the comment like, well, you always seem like you have it together. You always seem like you're on point. And so I'm just kind of surprised to hear you say how you feel and hear you be so vulnerable. And they just kind of had this look of shock on their face, like wow, like she's going through something. And my sister just kind of said like, well, if we're scared to share what we're going through, and you're saying it, and we're shocked that you're going through something, how many other women are holding on to something, and not being comfortable enough to let people know their true sentiment because they don't want to be judged or because they don't want to appear like they don't have it all together. And so that was kind of the inspiration for her saying like, maybe you should, write a book to kind of start that conversation so women do feel more comfortable sharing with other people and do feel comfortable getting support when they are going through a trial and tribulation, without them feeling like they're going to be weak, or without them feeling like that takes away from their womanhood or that takes away from their strength, because they are sharing their struggles.
So talk a little bit more about that. When you say your womanhood, talk a little bit more. What does it mean as a black woman? What does womanhood mean to you as being a black woman that's as educated and out here in the workforce doing your own thing? Talk a little bit more about that. What does that mean to you?
I think there's strength within itself of being a black woman in a professional environment, because I do feel like we are tested a little bit more than more women, or I feel like we have to work a little bit harder than other women to, I guess, get equality or get the same respect. I feel like we have more hurdles than other women, so I feel like we always have to be on. People have this perception that we have to be this strong, independent black woman, and we don't have the same. I guess we don't get to have vulnerability as easily as other women. Like when we do show it, it's almost like viewed as weakness, and I think that can be very hard when you're in a professional work environment because, being an entrepreneur, being an author, even being in a working environment, there are going to be some times where you're not always on. There's going to be some times where you do make a mistake, and I don't feel like we get that privilege to make those mistakes. Let's see, what is my favorite chapter of the book? I would say chapter 19, Damaged Goods. And the reason that's my favorite chapter is because it makes me think about like when I went through something and it was like very I guess, catastrophic, or I thought that was the biggest thing ever that I'm gonna go through, or I thought people were gonna judge me for that, and I just said like, okay, I'm always gonna be defined by this. People are always gonna know my mistake or judge me, and then just kind of having that realization that, okay, like I made a mistake, or hey, I've done something I'm not proud of, but I can move past it. And I think that a lot of women get stuck in that once they go through something, or once people know something about them, or they're embarrassed about something, that they're gonna always be known for that one thing. And I just want women to know that you're not defined by that. There's more to you than that mistake or that bad life call. So that's probably my favorite chapter, just because that was a very hard thing for me to accept about myself.
Chapter 8. Talk a little bit about Chapter 8.
Chapter 8 talks about counseling. I know in the African American community, there's still a big stereotype surrounding counseling. A lot of people feel like if they go, they have to admit that they're crazy, or they have to admit that they don't have it all together. And so I really want to promote mental health in our community, because you don't have to be mentally incompetent or crazy to say, hey, you know what? There's some things I need to talk about, or some things I want to heal from or get over. If you were physically sick, you wouldn't hesitate to go to your primary care physician. So when you're mentally not at your best, why do we hesitate to go to a mental health professional to get mentally stronger? A lot of African Americans feel like, well, I should just pray about it, or I should just get over it, or triumph it through, and if I don't, then I'm weak, or if I don't, then something's wrong with me. And I want people to just kind of, I guess, shy away from that, because I feel like there are a lot of elderly, like our aunts or our grandmothers, that we say, well, they got through it. Yeah, but they shot a lot of things under the rug too, or they had a lot of I guess unhealed past that they're still struggling with today, or that that may explain why they're having some of these odd behaviors, because they never went for mental health counseling, or honestly because they couldn't even afford mental health counseling, or they didn't have health insurance. So it's not that they were opposed to it, they just didn't have the resources. Whereas I feel like in 2019 we do have health insurance, we do have cars and access to go to a mental health professional. We do have the internet where you can Google any mental health care professional that you feel comfortable with. So I think when we say, okay, well, my grandmother didn't go, well, maybe because Big Mama couldn't, so I think just kind of shying away from that, that philosophy, or just saying like, well, I should just go to church. And I'm not saying that church is a bad thing, but why can't you go to church and pray and get the mental health counseling as well? Maybe, from a biblical standpoint, maybe God, put the resources in front of you. Maybe he gave you the health insurance and the vehicle and the employee assistance program, so that way you could have both simultaneously to make sure you are, again, in a mentally healthy space.
The title Superwoman Redefined, in your definition, what does it mean to be redefined?
Redefine, it just means I guess re-identifying yourself, like not thinking that you always have to be perfect, not thinking you always have to be you can't be vulnerable, or thinking that you can't tell people what's going on with you without judgment, or I guess just kind of define that strong woman myth. Like you don't have to, there is strength in being vulnerable. There is strength in letting people know that you do need other people and you need a support system. You don't have to do things on your own. So just kind of redefining what womanhood looks like.
We see you guys Superwoman Redefined, you defined that, but that being independent, overrated statement. So go into a little detail about that, because right now, it's cool when it comes to our sisters in particular. They love bragging about how independent they are. So talk a little bit about that. Why you put that as in that statement as why being independent is overrated.
I put it in there because honestly, it's a load of crap. I hear a lot of women say, "I'm this strong, independent, black woman. I'm independent. I don't need anybody." And like, women walk around like it's a badge of honor to say you're independent, to say that you're solo, or you don't have a support system. Like, where's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for being this independent person? Like, when did it become uncool to need other people and to need a support system, or to, I guess, be dependent on people to lead a healthy life? I don't understand why that is so, I guess, so popular at this point, because when you're independent, yay, you know, hand clap for you, but I mean, don't we all want support from family or friends or a significant other? Don't we all, you know, want to have other people we can share our life with? And so I think just kind of debunking that myth that you have to be by yourself to be successful. I mean, there are a lot of people who are successful and they, you know, they are dependent on other people, like whether, again, it's a spouse, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a church member. And I think it's okay to say, hey, you know what? I'm successful with the help of someone else. Hey, you know what? I want love from my significant other. Hey, you know what? I have some friends that have helped me through my struggles. I want people to be comfortable with that, because I feel like we've shied away from that, and I feel like women feel like I have to push everybody away and I have to make it on my own and I have to show everybody that I can, you know, do everything on my own. But to me, that's lonely. That's lonely on the top. Like, yeah, you can do it, but it's hard. And again, why? Like, what is the end goal of that? So I just really want women to shy away from that, or to even ask themselves, if you are that strong, independent woman, what good is coming from that?
The book, where is that?
They can get it on Amazon if they want a hard copy, or if they want an ebook, they can get it on Kindle, or they can get it via Nook, or they can visit my website, www.hencecounseling.com, and that's spelled HENCECOUNSELING.
What's your IG? Where can they find you on social media?
They can find me on Instagram at Hence Counseling. Again, that's spelled HENCECOUNSELING. They can find me on Facebook, same thing, Hence Counseling. My Twitter is also Hence Counseling. Website is www.hencecounseling.com, or they can come visit me at 4100 Spring Valley Road, Suite 635 in Farmers Branch, Texas. However, I will be relocating June 1st to 3740 North Josie Lane, Suite 238 in Carrollton, Texas.